Welcome to the biggest mistake I made when I started playing this game video. Uh, this is a video where I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story. So grab a drink, sit down, stay a while, and listen. If you're old, you probably remember watching this image. It's from a very old episode of The Simpsons back in the 90s. I don't know if The Simpsons are still running. Haven't seen them in a very long time. But it was an episode where Homer Simpson, I don't remember exactly what happens, but they do a scan of his head and they find out that he has a tiny brain inside his massive head. So Moe convinces him to become a boxer because he wants to make a lot of money. And this special condition that Homer has prevents him from being knocked out or having a concussion. So he starts boxing amateurs. And obviously, Homer Simpson doesn't know how to box. He can't throw a punch, he can't dodge or bob and weave. He's completely useless. But he just stands there, getting punched in the face, not getting concussed or KO'd until his opponents run out of stamina and they become exhausted and they lose. At the end of the episode, I mean, he gets more and more famous and he starts fighting better opponents until the point where I think it's in Las Vegas or something like that. He fights a real opponent, which, I mean, The Simpsons, if you're very young, you may not know about them or may not remember, but they used to make cartoon versions of real people. And in this episode, he's supposed to be fighting Mike Tyson. Not Mike Tyson now in 2025, Mike Tyson back in the 90s when he was in his prime. So Mike Tyson starts punching Homer Simpson, and obviously Homer Simpson doesn't know anything because he's stupid. But Moe realizes, oh, wait, now I understand what's going on, and tells Homer to throw the match. And I remember that he says a phrase, something along the lines of, this is not like the others, this one doesn't get tired. So, seeing that Homer Simpson is not going to lose on purpose, he throws the towel, and well, the moral of the story is that he overcomes greed and saves Homer Simpson. He puts friendship over his own greed. Anyway, this episode will be relevant a bit later. So, when I started playing this game, I chose the Mercenary as my first class because I thought it was cool. Now, I did play this game back in 2022. I did install it and played it for 3 or maybe 4 weeks, but it was a completely different game. Uh, the, the mechanics were completely different. There were no scrolls. You could upgrade your equipment. Uh, Battles were in real time. These settings now that you can change here, where is it? Real time. Uh, I can't. Yeah, the preferred battle gameplay. It was timer only. Action points were added later. So I played for a couple weeks, but I didn't really like it that much, and I uninstalled it. And then I started playing on at the end of March for this year, for 2025, and well, here I am making videos. So when I restarted, I didn't remember pretty much anything about the game. So I decided to just delete all my progress and start from scratch. And I chose the mercenary as the first class because I thought it looked cool and I really liked the idea of the ultimate spell. I thought that gold was useful So I thought, okay, let's start with this class. This sounds good. So I played story mode and I tried many different spell combinations. Soon I realized that Find Weakness was a very good spell that prevented the opponents from casting spells themselves, and it gave good critical hit chance and critical damage bonuses, so I decided to use it. I also decided to use Pay in Advance, that increases your power and gives gold bonus. And also, if Greed is active, Greed is the effect of the ultimate spell when you destroy the treasure gems. It will deal melee damage. After trying many different things, I chose Ice Armor to increase my armor so I could survive for longer. And I also tried different damaging spells. And I used Confident Slice because it deals also melee damage and has a chance to create additional skulls. So I tried this for around 1 month. When I started, I wasn't playing a lot, and I mean, the build worked at low levels, kind of, but it wasn't really good. And back then, I didn't understand how players could have four different spells of the same color. That I didn't understand how it worked. I didn't understand masteries or additional mana bonuses or starting mana or anything like that. So after a while of trying these things, I thought, okay, if other players are using just one color, maybe I can try something similar. So I decided to try something like this. I got swamp water, so I was trying it together with find weakness, and I also tried to use sunburst, yeah, sunburst together to power up pay in advance. So I would use this combination. I think I put them like this, maybe a different order. I don't remember exactly. And the idea with this was, okay, let's use these two spells that I believe that they are good together, and then add an additional fire damage in the case of Sunburst, and create some yellow gems and some green gems with some water. And additionally, I thought, okay, in order to survive longer, I can use the full jeweled set that gives, when you use 6 pieces, blind on your opponent. Blind halves the physical damage that your opponents deal to you. So it means that, again, this was thinking with find weakness that prevents opponents from casting spells. So I can have the physical damage I receive. Great. And also use 2 Dreamhold items because it withers the enemy when matching 5 or more green gems. Wither doubles the effect of debuffs, so if the opponent is both blind and withered, he will only deal 25% physical damage. And I thought, okay, this sounds good. This requires matching green gems, which I'm using, and this requires matching yellow gems, which I'm also using. Now, I tried this for 1 or 2 weeks, and again, it kinda worked at relatively low to mid levels, but it was very, very slow. It wasn't a good build. So that was the time when I joined the Throne of Odin Discord, and I started reading their guides. And I saw that one of the guys that was in almost, if not all, of the guides was Igure. And yeah, I'm going to pronounce his name Igure because that's how he would pronounce his own name. So one day that I was on Discord, I saw that he was online. I sent him a, a message and we had a 1 hour conversation or so. I tried to explain my idea behind this build and he was very polite. He was very, very nice to me, but obviously I didn't understand how the game worked. But after the conversation I had with him, and after I read the guides again to look for some more information, the different pieces of the puzzle started, you know, matching together, and I started understanding. Because at that point, I knew this sucked. This wasn't a good build, but I didn't understand why. So after, as I said, putting all the different pieces of the puzzle together, I realized why it sucked. And going back to this image, I realized that the way I was playing the game was very similar to that episode. I didn't have a plan to defeat my opponents. I just stand there like Homer Simpson getting punched in the face, and I just expected the opponents to die. Now, in my defense, I've been playing video games for many, many years, and I've been playing mostly uh, turn-based strategy games like the Heroes of Might and Magic series, the Disciple series, King's Bounty, uh, role-playing games like Final Fantasy or Grandia. I've played many, many different games. And in many of those role-playing or turn-based strategy games, when you play at the lower difficulties, you can go all out offense and you'll be fine. But when you start going to the higher difficulties, you need to have a defensive plan or you're dead. And that's how I approached this game. And it's not this game's fault. It was my fault. I had a preconception of how the game operated without understanding the game mechanics. And this is the reason why this was the biggest mistake I made. Instead of having a plan on how to defeat my opponents, my concern was how can I survive? And the thing is that this game favors and rewards damage, rewards offense. Now, by this, I'm not saying that defense is completely useless. I'm not saying, oh, yeah, you don't need a shield, or you don't need a Kazuli helm, or you don't need to increase your defensive uh, stats like lead damage protection, or melee resistance, or missile resistance. I'm not saying they are not useful. What I'm saying is that it's a mistake I made, and I think many other new players make, to try to increase the difficulty and focus on how can I survive this. And while it's true that there are certain builds, for example, I made a video about this build, the Dirty Blade physical green mercenary, and this is a very defensive build thanks to the serpentine pants and some other pieces of equipment. I'm not saying that you cannot play a defensive build. They do work, but they also need to deal damage. You don't win battles by just surviving. You win battles by defeating your opponents. So here's my advice so you don't make the same mistake I made. When you start the game at up to what I would say, if we divide the game into three chunks of early, mid, and end game, I will say during the early game, focus on how to deal more damage. You need to understand how your build works because physical and elemental builds They have similarities, but they also work in different ways, and you need to focus on different attributes and stats, understand how it works, and increase your damage. Whenever you go, for example, to the different dungeons or to events and you start, because when you get to level 50, at least when I got to level 50 for my first character, my scrolls were level 25 or so. They were very low, and I could only do hard difficulty, and not always. But when you start increasing the difficulty, make sure that you can increase your damage before you worry about surviving. Make sure you can defeat your opponents in one or tops two hits. Don't keep increasing the difficulty unless you can dish out enough damage. And yeah, eventually you will get to a point, maybe difficulty 7. It will depend on your build and your equipment, but from 6 to 10, this is when you need to start. Okay, I can dish out the damage, but now I need to survive. I need a Kazuli helm, or I need to increase my resistances, or whatnot. Okay, but don't worry too much at the start. Make sure you understand how does the build work, how do you deal damage, and how can you increase that damage first and foremost. Defense has a place in this game, absolutely, but it's not the most important thing. And yeah, as I said, with a build like this, I was able to do, I think I was doing something like level 75 maybe, which I think is difficulty 4, something like that. But it took me, I don't know, 6, 7 rounds until find weakness, increase my critical hit chance and critical hit damage, and pain advance, increase my power enough for me to kill the opponents. But it was really, really slow, really painful, and really boring. Let's be honest. I was miserable at that point. I almost quit the game. So please learn from my mistake. And when you start, worry about how can you kill your enemy. Don't worry too much about how can you survive. That will come later, way later down the line. So that's my story. I hope it helps. If so, please like, comment, subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.